We saw Grover search last time. Right? And what did it say? It gave us this surprising result that in a list of n elements, we can find a marked element in order of root n time. This should surprise you. This is in some sense saying that I'm only looking at square root elements and still trying to figure out if there was a marked element in the list or not. Again, some people might say, oh, it's quantum computing, you can do things in parallel. That's why you are able to do it. Today, we are going to see that this is the best you can do. In other words, for finding a marked element, in a list of n elements, you need order of, I should say, omega root n time. You can't do better than Grover search. This is saying that, or in one way, it is again answering this common misconception that quantum computing is just everything in parallel. If that was the case, then we should be able to find the marked element in just one query. But that is not happening here. We need at least square root n queries. Hence, this is something different from just querying everything in parallel. That's the first, that's the thing which should be clear to you.
So we are talking about time here, not sorry. So we are talking about time here, not the query. So is this true in time, means time complexity also? I mean,
right. One of the best ways to bound time complexity is through query complexity. The way we are going to say today's result is, we are going to show that it will require at least root n lookups or Oracle queries.
And that would mean some more than root n time.
That would mean more than order of root n time.
Yes, order of root n time.
Because every query will take some constant time. It might be 0.1 millisecond. Exactly. Right? This conclusion, this proof will show us, or it will have side effect of two things. One, as I said already, quantum is not just parallel computation. And other thing is that it will introduce us to the field of query complexity. That's why the question which was asked just now was very pertinent. How did we show the bound on time complexity? We will show it by, we didn't show it yet, but how will we show the bound on time complexity? We will show that the number of queries required, remember there was an oracle in Grover search. The number of queries to that oracle will be very high. And this is the way in which many lower bounds are proved in quantum computing. This has given rise to a new field which is called query complexity. Next lecture, we'll talk about this new field. I shouldn't call it new now, it is 20 years old, but this different field of query complexity, we will talk about it at least for one lecture next time. Okay, the task for today is pretty clear for us. Any questions about what we want to prove? let's dive into the proof. My first question to you would be, you have seen Grover search. Again, pictures are equivalent to 1,000 words or whatever that saying is. This is theta. You remember we keep rotating by 2 theta. Intuitively, at a very, very intuitive sense, if I ask you, why can't you make this algorithm faster? What will be your answer? Why can't? No proof required, no robustness, nothing. Just whatever comes to your mind. Why can't we make this Grover's algorithm faster? What do you think? Why didn't you say, oh, why are we rotating by 2 theta? Let's rotate by n theta. Or why did every 2 theta take one query or something? Whatever comes to your mind. Can you think of an argument of why it doesn't seem like we can make Grover's algorithm faster?
So U and M were unknown, so we only knew the value of psi, which was obtained from Hadamard
Correct.
gate. So like we also knew that that was like we got the form of the reflection from that. So 2 theta is the maximum we can rotate in that. Like if we want to rotate by some other amount, then we need to find those vectors.
Okay, so Sayak, let me write it this way. Every query can rotate by only 2 theta. Is that, again, no proofs required? We are just saying intuitively that would sum up this point?
Yes, I think so.
Every can rotate by at most a small angle. Okay, let's be not precise. That way the probability of this statement being higher increases, right? So this is the statement which captures your statement.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay, yeah. and then.
But so,
so yeah, like after that, like we found that theta was of the order 1 by root n. So in order to come closer to m, which we do not know yet, we needed to repeat it root n times.
Good. So that seems like one argument, right? Any other thoughts on this? I think someone else wanted to say something.
I wanted to say that why is this thing? I mean, why don't we think about this thing that we can rotate by the small angle? Why can't this angle be increased in any way? I mean, this
we don't know yet. We are just trying to concoct an argument, right? We are researchers and we think that Grover search might be optimal, but you are right. There might be some reason why this angle could be higher, right?
There could be another possible point. Why we are taking always means this approach that we are just rotating by an angle and taking measurement. There could be another different way of thinking about the problem also.
Cool. So obviously, lower bounding, generally giving a time complexity bound on any problem is very, very hard because you have to take care of all algorithms. Correct? Right, Deepajit?
Yes.
All methods. But let's stick to Grover's algorithm. Let's stick to this strategy of rotating the vector. And then we will go to the more general strategy. We will prove for most general strategy, but let's get our intuition from this particular strategy of Grover search.
Sir, even if we were somehow increasing the rotation angle by like maybe increasing it gradually. But for finally getting close to the state M, we would need the precision. So I think we would need a lot of queries because of that.
I'm not sure about the precision. This is Nehal, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the precision because, even if your final angle is close to 45 degree or something, still your probability of measuring M is pretty high. Correct?
Yes, sir.
In that sense, the precision you require is not really that big a problem, even if theta is bigger. I'm 100% sure that if we are at a 30-degree angle to M, then we have good enough probability of measuring marked angles. And actually, we have an oracle to check whether something is marked. So even if we get probability higher than half, we are good. We have a one-sided error algorithm, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another thing which Sayak probably didn't say here is that we have to rotate by a big angle, close to pi by 2. Then only this first argument will make sense. We have to rotate by a big angle, but we can only rotate by a small angle. That's why we need many queries. Again, there are many flaws in this. First thing which someone would say is that why do we need to rotate by a big angle? That means, why can't we start with a state which is close to M? And then this argument will have a problem. Correct? This obviously is.
So what I meant is that you don't know the value of M, right? So how will you know that if you're close or not? You can just find
Right.
the equal superposition.
Right. Sayak, you are saying the right thing, but it has to be slightly more specific.
So
Let me specify it.
Yes, sir. You go ahead.
Go ahead, give it a try. No, you can give it a try.
So you gave that exercise in the notes that the number of hidden points should be less than equal to half. So since they are less than equal to half and you find an equal superposition, you are always closer to the known points rather than the hidden ones.
Right, but why am I starting with equal superposition?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, like intuitively you
Right.
don't.
Maybe because if we start closer to M, then our angle theta would be more than pi by 4, and then improving upon that angle would be difficult. I mean, rotating by 2 theta would not make much improvement on that.
No, but then you don't need to rotate. If you are already close by pi by 4 to M, then I will just keep measuring that state.
Yeah, that's.
And with high probability, I will get something which is marked, right? I will just use the classical algorithm after that. I don't need to rotate after that. But okay, Sayak was on the right track, almost on the right track. Let me specify it further. The problem is we don't know M. In other words, M could be the marked state. We don't know when we start our algorithm whether the marked state is, for example, 1 0 0 0 0 or 0 1 0 0 0 0 or 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 or 0 0 0 0 0 1. It could be either of those, and all of those states are pretty far away from each other, right?
Yes, sir.
My algorithm has the starting state has to be the same. irrespective of whatever element is marked. Right? Notice this, that algorithms starting state has to be same irrespective of the marked state. And marked states can be very far away from each other. There is no single state which is close to all the marked states. Actually, any state, any state psi you pick will be far from most of the basis states. This is something which we will prove today. This is kind of an argument between person who is proving a lower bound and person who is making an algorithm, right? You wanted to show that you need at least root n. We say, oh, it seems like you have to travel a lot of distance. You have to rotate by a big angle, but every query can only rotate by a certain amount. But then someone would say, oh, I will start with a state very, very close to the marked state. But then the person who is proving the lower bound will say, no, 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 no. You can't. There are so many different marked states. You can only start close to very few of them. What will happen in the case when marked state is not one of those states? These are the things we will have to take in mind when we construct our argument. You will see that we will utilize all these things. Okay. The intuition is going to be every query will get us sorry, I should say that very philosophically, we have to travel a large distance. You know, we have to reach the marked state that's far away for most of the marked states. But every query can only make us travel a small distance. We have to, and when we talk about this large distance, I have not defined this. I will mathematically define what I mean by large distance. But this distance should be with respect to all possible marked states, and not just one marked state. That also we saw. But this will be our strategy to prove the lower bound. We have to move a large distance, but every query can only make us travel a small distance. Sorry for being vague. These things will become clearer and clearer as soon as I define what is distance, how are we traveling, and things like that. Okay? But let me start.
So,
Sorry?
Why are you taking the only Grover search into consideration?
No. I will not. Now this distance will be defined for any generic algorithm.
Okay.
That's why it is under quotes, right? I'm not saying I have to rotate by a large angle or something. Okay.
So before you
So
start,
this distance
so this result would be somewhat similar to why sorting cannot be done less than n log n time, right?
No.
No, I'm just saying that about the philosophy means in the sorting, what you do is you have to compare elements. So over there, what we do is we count the total number of comparisons. Here, something similar to that would happen, I think. Is that
it? So that argument, I think of it as, you can frame it probably in this way. You can say that you have a lot of permutations to cancel and arrive at the right permutation. And every comparison only gets rid of half the permutations or something like that, right?
Yes.
That's the idea there. Yeah. So if you can formulate a distance in terms of the number of permutations which are valid after these comparisons. Yes, you can probably frame it in these two steps. You are right. You are right. This is a very, very general argument. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with our assumption. We will only worry about inputs which have at most one. Okay. That means even if the algorithm answers correctly on just these inputs, leave alone on all the to the power n inputs, but if my algorithm answers just correctly on these n+1 inputs, then algorithm will require omega root n queries. This is what we are going to prove. We are proving a stronger thing. Grover search does much more. It solves the problem for all to the power n inputs. But our lower bound will only use that the algorithm is correctly answering on these n+1 inputs. In other words, we can identify x with position of 1. Now in our universe, there are only these n+1 inputs, and if we promise to the algorithm that we will only give these many inputs. And then if the algorithm says, oh, the first position is 1, then we know that this is the input. If it says last position is 1, then we know that this is the input, and so on. In other words, we are going to prove a more general result, a stronger result than required. We wanted to prove Grover search will take order of root n queries. We are going to show even if we solved a much weaker problem, much smaller problem on these n+1 inputs, then also you will require square root n queries. This should not confuse you. This is making a simplifying assumption. Sounds good? Cool. With this assumption, now we want to prove that such an algorithm which answers correctly on these n+1 inputs is going to take square root n queries. How will any generic algorithm look like? Generic, let's say, quantum algorithm, right? We will have a starting state psi. We will apply oracle, then we will apply unitary, then oracle, then unitary, and so on. This is the most general algorithm possible. Do you see that? Finally, we will measure. That's a different thing, but yeah, our generic quantum algorithm will just do this. It will take a state, it will apply an oracle, then apply a unitary, then apply an oracle, then apply a unitary, and so on. If I do L queries, then I will do a unitary in the end and then measure. Is this clear? Why is this a generic algorithm? Why can't I have another unitary here?
That could be combined to give a single unitary.
Perfect, right? Why can't I have a unitary here?
We could make an arbitrary starting state this way.
Exactly. The only point is that that state should not depend on X, right? In that sense, we have only two kind of operations: operations which depend on the oracle, operations which do not depend on the oracle. And we have partitioned all these operations like that. In other words, after L steps, my state on input X will look like and if no oracle was applied, or if my state was 0, 0, 0, 0, then my final state would be psi. Remember, when my X is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, then my oracle will not do anything. It will act like identity on everything. Right? We will remember these two definitions. Any questions about this generic algorithm description?
So what is psi L?
Psi L I am defining as the state which is unitary ul minus 1 u1 on psi, on the starting state psi. But you can also think of this state as psi L on the input 0. Because when the input is 0, oracle will not do anything, right? It will act as an identity.
Okay, I did not get this. Like, why it act as identity?
Oh, you
Can you
remember it puts phase minus 1 to the power xi.
Okay.
Xi is 0 now.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
So it is 1. It is phase. Or you can think of it as B XOR xi. Xi is 0. So B will remain B.
Okay. Sure.
Whatever oracle definition you take, it will not change anything. Sounds good?
Yes.
This we will remember. We have psi Lx. Sorry. Or actually, probably it is better to mark it as important. U1 OX psi and psi L. Remember our strategy? We said that my algorithm has to travel a large distance, but every query travels only a small distance. That was the intuition. Let me make it more precise. The idea of the lower bound is going to be 1. Since algorithm works correctly, psi Lx should be close to x. Correct? We are going to measure and we are going to get the right state. That means psi Lx should be close to x in the end. This distance between these two vectors, like we said, when we are measuring with the marked state, the distance should be, the angle should be less. In other words, we should say that if algorithm works correctly, then psi xl should be close to x. Make sense? But then a single vector psi l, remember, it does not depend on x. This vector psi l does not depend on x, should be far away from most of the x's. In other words, psi Lx and psi L should be far away for most of the axes. Is the first idea intuitively okay? We will prove these mathematically. Good. Let me ask you one question. Why can't we solve search problem in 0 queries? Can you prove that we can't find the answer in 0 queries? Do you have an argument?
We'll have to at least verify if our answer is correct or not, and then we'll need one query at least.
No, my algorithm does not verify. It just comes up with something and magically that's going to be the marked state. Okay. Again, notice that the starting state is psi L. It is fixed. It does not depend on x, right? That means psi Lx, or at least psi 0x and psi 0 are same. Do you agree? By definition, I have not applied any oracle. It has to be the same. I can kind of generalize it and say that psi xl and psi l are close to each other when there are less number of queries. Okay. If I wanted to prove that 0 queries don't work, I will say, oh, on every input x, you always end up with state psi 0, but psi 0 cannot be close to all the x's. That means it will not give me correct answer on most of the x's. That's why your algorithm is flawed. That's the argument that the algorithm does not work with 0 queries. I'm extending it. I'm saying psi xl and psi l are close to each other. Read these lines. These are close to each other when there are less number of queries. We will prove this again formally. This is our intuition from saying that, oh, when I had no query, these states were same. And then every query will only change these states marginally. That's why these states will not be far away. But if the algorithm has to answer correctly, then by point 1, they should actually be far away. That is going to be the contradiction. First point says that we have to travel a long distance. Second point says that if we do small number of queries, then we have traveled only a small distance. That's the idea. Questions? How many people are fine till now with the arguments at an intuitive level? I haven't proved anything robust yet, anything formal yet. So just raise your hands if the idea is okay. Okay, good. Around 50% people. Others, any suggestions, any questions, so that this thing becomes clearer? Remember, it is all based on this single thing. Our argument was we were supposed to travel a long distance, but every query only made us travel a small distance. We have to cover this much distance. We have to go from here to here. Unfortunately, every query will take only small steps. Then that means we have to take lot of steps. How we will prove it formally, that is another question. How will we show that the distance is more, every query is small, that is more, that will come later, but I will try making these steps more and more precise. When I say that we have to travel a long distance, that should say that these states psi xl, this is the state after L queries on X. This is the state if I had not applied any oracle. These should be far away for most of the X's. On the other hand, if we have taken small number of queries, then every step has a small, it covers only a small distance. That's saying psi xl and psi l are close to each other when there are less number. I think one of the main thing mathematically which has to be defined is this distance. And the 2 points, the 2 ideas I have written allows us to formulate this distance. Many places this is called a potential function. Okay, we are going to look at this potential function as L increases. When L is 0, when L is 1, when L is 2, and so on. Idea would be at the end of the algorithm, when algorithm is finished, this potential should be very large. In the beginning, it is very, very small. This potential is in some sense the distance. This is going to be very large in the end. Every query will only increase this potential by a small amount. That means we will have to do large number of queries. Is this potential function clear to everyone? Okay, since there are no questions, let me ask you questions to make sure that this is okay. Do people understand this notation? What does this denote? What is this quantity equal to?
X transpose X.
Square root of X transpose X. Or, right, this is called the 2 norm. I'm only going to use 2 norm. That's why I've removed the subscript 2. You can think of it as the length of this vector. Right? I want to capture the distance between psi xl and psi l. One way to do it, all of these are going to be unit vectors. Their length is immaterial. That's why I can think of this. One way to write the distance between them is psi xl minus psi l whole square. Mathematically, it means their length square. Good. What is the summation?
Can you once again repeat what do you mean by 2 to the power x, that notation?
Whose power x? Sorry?
Psi lx, that x. What does that x signifies?
X signifies if the oracle is according to the input x.
Okay.
What happens? What is the state of the algorithm after L steps? Okay. And given our general description of an algorithm, it will look like this at the top. You can see how it will look like at the top, right? Okay. What is this summation over? What are the possible values of x in this summation?
the inputs, all the inputs that probably can be to the oracle. I mean,
Okay. Okay. So how many possible inputs are we considering? Can you give me the number?
there were n+1 inputs, right? So if I'm considering that there will only be one marked element, let us say, then that would be n+1. And if we are considering that any subset can be there, then it would be 2 to the power n+1 subsets possible.
Right. In our case, we are considering only these kind of states. I told you, right? It's, only one marked input 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. That means actually they are going to be just n inputs x. Remember, this will take care of all the zero string. Okay. Sounds good. It's
So
Mhm.
I had to confirm that the idea is going to be that by applying the oracle, we are getting closer to our correct answer, and by not applying the oracle, we are not improving. I mean, that's the idea, right?
See,
That's the thing we are trying to prove when we are saying that psi Lx is going to be far from psi L for most of the x.
right, but we can't say it for every x.
For most of the x, that's
For
why.
most of the x, yes, yes. Because potentially I can start in state 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then that's the best thing for, yeah.
And
that
that
is
would
already
further go to give a lower bound. I mean, that I would have to do this much queries and all that.
right.
Sir, I didn't get the idea number one. Like, how do we exactly know this thing? Like, that since the algo works for, how do we know that this will be far away from most of the axes?
No, so there are two statements there. Since algorithm works correctly, psi xl should be close to x. Is that a problem? Or the second line, psi l should be far away for most of the x's?
Sir, both of them actually.
Okay. First thing is, this is from the principles, right? If I want to get the output 0, right? A quantum algorithm, what will it do? It will do some transformations on the state. Finally, my state is psi, and then it will measure in this basis. If the answer is 0, then it will say, oh, the function value is 0. Otherwise, it will say function value is 1. Right? Remember, I can apply any unitaries in the end, right? I can assume that my last measurement is in the standard basis.
So, but that I got it. But why Shayal should be far away from most of the axes?
Okay, so first thing, this is, so then psi should be close to x since the final output will be x. That's clear, right?
Yes.
This angle should be small. Otherwise, when I measure it in the standard basis, I will not get 0 with high probability.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, statement that psi l should be far away from most of the x's, this I am going to prove, but that is true about any vector psi. Remember, x's are, these x are basis states, right?
Yes.
If I take in 3 dimension, if I take the 3 basis states, can you find a vector which is close to all 3 x's?
No.
So that is the same argument here. With n dimensions, it will be much more harder. We are going to show that if psi is any fixed vector, then it cannot be close, or this distance will be much very big for any fixed psi. Okay, so psi should be far away for most of the x's.
So the last statement is a combination of the first two statements.
Yes. Think of it, okay, in pictures, think of it this way. 0, 1, now psi 0, L, psi 1, L or something. And now your final state is like this. right? Then it should be far away from most of the x's, right? I'm just drawing it in 2 dimension because I only have 2 dimension. But if they were in more dimension, then you see what is happening. My psi xl will almost be close to very, very close to x, right? You can think of them as axis vectors themselves. And then since psi l is a fixed vector, it does not depend on x, it will be far away from most of the axes. In other words, it will be far away from many of the psi xl. Did I confuse you more, or is it okay? Okay, I'm not getting any response. I will continue assuming things are clear. Okay, these two are the ideas, and for that we have to define the distance. The distance looks like this. One more thing, what is size 0?
Zero. We are starting with the same state.
Very good. We are starting with the same state. That means psi x0 is equal to psi 0. That means the potential is 0 in them.
Sir, can you go to the assumption once again? I have a doubt there.
Yes.
So here we are assuming that only one of these n are marked, right? Okay. And other like 101 and element inputs with more than 1 are also there in the oracle, right?
No. Let's assume that to the algorithm, we are telling the algorithm, look, algorithm, you cannot give the correct answer if you are not making root n queries. That algorithm, we assure them that we will only give an input which is Hamming weight at most 1. We will not give any other input. There are no oracles for 101. You don't have to worry about them.
Okay, sure.
Even if for the simpler problem, the algorithm needs square root n queries, then we can give them more oracles. Even for the other oracles, they have to answer correctly. Then they will only require more queries, right? They can't require lesser number of queries.
Yeah.
Good. Psi 0 is equal to 0. Remember the two ideas? The distance is far, but every step, the distance does not, we don't travel a lot in every step. So say the algorithm, the one which does great or takes less than n queries, let's say the algorithm does L, capital L queries. The proof will be based on these two steps. One, we will show that the total distance algorithm has to cover, this potential function in the end should be very high. It should be order of. This will be our lemma 1. Second part will say that if we have only done smaller number of queries, then the potential is less than 4L square. If we prove these two things, is it clear to you that this implies that L should be more than omega square? which was our task. This will show that search requires at least these many queries. The proof of lemma 1 and lemma 2 will be discussed, but assuming that we show these things, we have the answer. Is that clear? Remember, this is saying that we have to travel a long distance, or the potential function is going to be very high when the algorithm succeeds. Every step only moves a little bit. How many people are okay with this? Just raise your hand if you think that, okay, if we prove lemma 1 and lemma 2, then we have the answer. Okay. Others? Why is what is the doubt? See, 4L square has to be some constant times n, then L has to be some constant times root n. Right? How we prove lemma 1 and lemma 2, that is again going to be again, yeah, that requires some math, but if we do it, then okay, let's look at lemma 1. I will not give the full proof. The full proof is given in notes. I will only give the idea. Okay, this is what we want to prove. Remember, phi L was psi xl minus psi L whole square. And if you remember, the main idea for proving something like this would be psi xl is close to x for all x, and no single vector psi L could be close to many x's. This is the reason why we believe that this quantity is high. These two will imply psi xl is far away from psi L for most of the x's. I have to just put these statements in mathematics. What I will do in the lecture today is just to prove that this quantity is order of n. Now, if you replace x by psi xl, where psi xl is very close to x, still the quantity turns out to be bigger. That I It's not simple. You can see it in the notes, but it can be done. This, with some more work, will imply notice we know that these are close. I'm just replacing x by something which is very close to x. It's not hard to believe that the same thing remains true. Let us look at the proof of this thing. Remember, we wanted to prove this thing. I'm saying that the proof is very similar to the thing which is in this rectangle here, and the rectangle is what we are going to prove. Okay, what is the maximum possible value of this quantity? Anyone?
N to the power n.
Sorry, no, that's too big. Remember, x and psi l all are unit vectors.
Okay.
What about every term? What is the maximum value of each term here?
At most 2.
At most 2. Agreed? If x is a unit vector, psi l is a unit vector, each term is less than equal to 2. In other words, the maximum value here could be 2n or something. Correct? What I am going to show is summation over x minus psi l whole square is actually more than 2n minus 2 root n. It is very, very close to 2. This is what we are going to show. Sounds good? Okay. I know that x is a basis. I can write my psi l in the basis of x. It is summation over x axx. Is that a problem? Sounds good? Right? If this is the case, then what is this quantity? Let's say y minus psi l whole square is equal to summation over x such that x is not equal to y ax square plus 1 minus ay whole square. Right? And then I have to just put a summation here. I get summation over y, summation x not equal to y ax square plus 1 minus ay whole square. What is this quantity?
N minus one time summation over all x.
What is this?
1.
Psi L was a unit vector. Remember, psi L was the summation x axx. So this was a unit vector plus this quantity. This would be again n, which will, okay, let me just write it as summation y1 plus summation y ay square minus, so this will be greater than 2 times summation ay. This again is 1. This is greater than n minus, sorry, 2n minus 2 summation y ay. And this can be bounded by Cauchy-Schwarz. This will be less than root 10. So, right, I want to prove this is greater than 2n minus. Again, proving this, it requires small bits of manipulation, but those are not the main parts. The main part was the intuition behind it. This lemma, this box is only saying that no fixed vector could be close to many of the basis states. And this you can convince yourself intuitively. The proof is making this argument more formal. It requires some bit of mathematics, but it's not very difficult. You can verify it at your leisure through the notes. I have written it here. I have done it in front of you, but again, my point is not difficult. The intuition is very, very clear. No fixed vector, leave alone psi L. You pick any vector in the space, it cannot be close to many of the basis states. And since psi xl is close to x, this implies, this forces this implication from this box to this circular or whatever curved theorem. Because psi xl is close to x. Again, it requires a bit of mathematics, but that is given in the notes. I will not cover it. That proves lemma 1. This shows that by the end of the algorithm, we have proved that finally the distance is pretty big. I should say finally the distance is pretty big. Lot of psi xls have to be, many of the psi xls have to be away from psi n. There is only one single psi n. Right? In the end, many of the psi xls will be away from psi n. That's why this quantity is going to be big. This proves lemma 1. let's look at lemma 2, which shows that phi L, if we take small number of queries, then this potential function is small. After small number of queries, most of the psi XLs will be close to psi. That's what we are going to show. And the proof will go, not surprisingly, by induction. That means we want to bound phi L plus 1 in terms of phi L. This is the first step. Is this correct? How many people agree that phi L plus 1 is this? Raise your hands. For other people, why is this not correct?
There was one unitary also, right? That we had to apply after the oracle.
Good, good. But then that unitary will be applied on psi L as well as on OX psi LX, psi XL?
Yes.
Can a unitary change the distance?
No.
Right? That means I can get rid of the unitary. Right? In other words, this is same as UL OX psi LX minus UL psi L square. Right? If I take a state and apply UL, it cannot change the length. That's all. Right? That's why we are interested in this quantity. Now, how many people are convinced that this is phi L plus 1? Raise your hands. Okay, good. Almost everyone now. This is phi L plus 1. We want to bound it in terms of phi L. Any idea how to do it? What was phi L? It was the distance between psi XL and psi L, right? Let me create it. I have added the and subtracted the same quantity. You really can't blame me for that. The reason was I wanted to create this. The first quantity, this should give me psi L. Now it's a square. Let me just create the this a plus b whole square formula. Sorry. OX minus I psi L. plus summation over x What do you know about this quantity? What is this quantity?
Psi L.
Right, again phi L, because again this is OX is a unitary. This is the potential function at the Lth step. And I don't have much time. What will happen is that, yeah. So I knew that phi L is less than 4L square. That means this quantity is less than 4L square. This quantity is less than 2L. What I will get is phi L plus 1 is less than 4L square plus 4L. This is just Cauchy-Schwarz. I have bounded everything except this quantity. If I bound this, then I am done. Rest I have in control. Remember, psi L was summation over x AXX. Correct? In that case, what will be OX minus I? Psi L? If psi L is summation x AXX, remember OX will just flip the sign of AX and nothing else. What is this?
Minus 2AXX.
Right. So I will not worry about minus, but 2AXX. That means this quantity is 4 summation AX square less than 4. Okay. Substituting this here, you will see that this is less than 4L plus 1 whole square. Okay. Again, these are calculations, you can confirm, but again, the idea was that every query does not increase the distance by much. Notice here, this is the important step here. When we talked about this quantity, right? The oracle puts a phase on x. Now, if psi L was very close to x, then this quantity will be big. If psi L is close to x, then this quantity will be big. Because a major part will flip to minus and this 2AXX will be very big. But this can't happen for many x's. again, this says that this vector will be small for most of the x's. And that's why this quantity is bounded, and hence everything gets bounded. This finishes the proof. Sorry for rushing the mathematical details, but those are not central. Believe me, the intuition remains the same. You want to get up to a big value of phi L, you need big phi L, phi L, capital L, but phi L for small l is small, implying L is big. And the two steps remain constant throughout the argument. And I have given you enough intuition for these two steps to be clear. How you prove them mathematically, that you can see in the notes. Time for questions. Okay, if there are no questions, thank you. I will see you on Friday.